The light was on last time too. Okay, whatever. If it doesn't work, then I'll start making other videos. Today you're going to be seeing a review. For those who were not here yesterday, we just spent time doing, I believe, lesson 4 stuff for you guys. I think there's 5 lessons in your unit. The 4th one is the quadratic formula. That's what we were dealing with. Okay. Today we're going to be doing a review of the 4 lessons. Depending on how quickly it goes, more participation, the quicker I'll pause for effect. But also by tomorrow, need you caught up with those first 4 lessons. The minimum, which I know that in some cases that's going to be what you're going to do, is going to be the mastery test. What you should be doing is also the practice, because there are some things that you see on the practice that don't show up on those mastery tests, but later they come back on the post test. Okay, so it's a give and take, and plus those for the practice is going to help you to prepare, because the type of problems I show you are the ones off of the practice usually, unless I notice something that shows up, it's going to show up on the mastery test. So today we're going to see stuff. The first mastery test was in the middle, and I have to then close the tab. We'll get to when I pause. If I give you like time, I'll do that. Hopefully everybody's good and everybody has electricity, because one of you didn't yesterday. I know without that it might be freezing cold. Yesterday we did have electricity, but in the evening it felt very cold at home. I'm gonna turn on the heater. So again, review 4 lessons. I'll write something down so you can think about it. Then I'll text a couple people who are missing. And hopefully that thing is recording. Okay, so this is lesson 1 stuff. Lesson 1, and I'll put point 1 because this is the first one from lesson 1. 12x minus 27 squared equals 256. First thing, 30 seconds to a minute, you're thinking to yourself, how well can we do this? Put some stars and question marks, chat, or especially on your paper. Thank you for making it on time, Edward. Okay. Second thing is, then you're flipping back through hopefully piles of paper or in a binder or notebook. Still have some right here ready for you guys to go. I'm gonna go grab my other markers that I left over there. Try to solve that thing. Let's see. She's not gonna be here. Just need Alex, I think. If we come up again, paper, you're solving that thing. It's been about 30 seconds to a minute. So if you're past the part I know how to do off the top of my head, maybe some of you did know how to start it off. If not, you have problems that we've done that look just like this, or maybe it was this problem. What is the first step? What is the first step? Or can you identify something on the equation that we need to get rid of? I'm pretty sure you know we need to get it to x equals. I think that's obvious for all of you. What types of things will we need to do at some point in solving this equation? Can any of you tell me any of those things? Either unmute, put it in the chat. Or I need to see the 2 stars, 1 star, question mark, 2 question marks for this. I'll wait till you do that. Okay. Got 2 of you, and I got 5 of you in the room. So Edward, Okay, I got 3 of you now. I think Cristal is missing as well. Cristal, vote, question mark, 2 of them, 1, a star, 2 stars. How well do you understand that thing, or how familiar does it look? Okay. So some of you are saying star. The first thing you should do, I just remembered something. I wasn't going to draw it. Okay, I see this thing up there. I think to myself, how do I say that? I could say to the second power. That may not be helpful in remembering what to do, because remember that we say this word. And remember when we were on that lesson and the one after it, I kept on drawing this thing. Hopefully you know why I'm drawing this thing. You guys remember what word I put down here? Because that's this part of the tree. What word do I put down here? What do I call that part of the tree that's down there? It's a root. Why? Square root goes together. I already have the square part. I need to do the root. Root, root. You do the square root of that thing. Okay, what would it be? I believe it's 16. Check to make sure I told you the right thing. And since we're doing a square root, we have it's positive 16 and negative 16. Your calculator only tells you positive, by the way. Then we bring down the rest of it. Remember that we think to ourselves, you're over here by yourself. You need to save this person. Okay, how are you going to deal with that person, or you're trying to cure them of illnesses? Well, the first one you're going to deal with is that thing. And then you get to that one. So take some time and solve these. But since you have 2 of these, that means you have 2 equations. That's how we're going to get 2 answers. One time it's a positive, the other time it's a negative. I'm going to give you 2 minutes because that's all it should take to get there. Your answer should be in fraction form, so solve those. One more minute. At the end of the next minute, if you could again vote, how successful were you in solving it? If you have an answer, put it in the chat. You're going to put 2 stars in about 30 seconds. I got both answers. 1 star, 1, or I think I solved some things. I don't know if they're right. Question mark. I was stuck. 2 question marks. I don't know how to do those. Okay. And that's something we need to address, because at this point in Math 2, you should know how to do those. Because there are some people in Math 1 who know how. However, there are some people in Math 3 that I know are just as confused as you may be at this moment. Okay. How we go about this, we do plus 27. Same step over here. The result on the next thing is going to be different though, because here we add them, and let me make sure. 3, 13, carry the 1, 43. Over here, you either do it in your head or you think to yourself, well, off to the side, I can do this, it's this, right? 15. How do I finish it off? By dividing by 12. X equals 15 over 12. That's one answer. Maybe it's the one I'm thinking or I need to focus in on. It's also this. This is the other answer. And we can leave it like that. We would know because it was a multiple choice question. And those are some of the things we saw. Okay, that's how that goes. Same kind of steps, but we're going to see a bunch of letters and symbols on the next one. Again, this is lesson 1. Which one? For the second equation is negative 16. What am I looking at? Oh, thank you, Javier. Took me a second for it to click. For this one, so that makes this different. I thought these answers looked a little off. 16. Yeah, 11. That looks more familiar. 11. This guy. There we go. Make sure you're copying things down right. You would have noticed because you're going to be like, that one's on the list, but my answer over here doesn't make sense. Why? Then you backtrack because you have all of this stuff to prove what did you do. Just like when they go to the hospital, like when they were checking my dad the other day on Friday when we were there for like from 4 o'clock to 3 in the morning. They kept on checking. Okay, let's check more blood tests. Let's do more of this. Let's double check before we say what's going on. Okay. Next one. Here's the formula. We're going to solve it. For R, need you to vote in the chat. How comfortable are you doing that? You have a formula. It's for the volume. You don't need to know that, but you should. Can you liberate this R, which is here all surrounded by different symbols, doing similar steps from the last one? All your equation solving stuff is still valid. You need to see some stars and some question marks in the chat. How comfortable are you with this? Again, this is a skill that when you're doing science stuff comes in very handy because you may get a formula sheet with one that says that, but if they tell you what's the radius of that cylinder or something, you may be super confused. Okay, here's the important one, meaning I need to get rid of the other two. What other two? Well, pi and h. Since they're side by side, it's multiplication. I get rid of it by dividing. Okay, notice in one step, I'm able to do a whole bunch of things. Notice there's that 2 again. And what do I mean by again? Because of this thing, right? Square root, square root. Okay, so we're going to get R equals that thing, the square root of the volume over pi h. That's solving for that. And notice as we gain knowledge and are able to do certain things, you can do them faster. Like I think a couple of you at least out there knows how to cook. There might be certain dishes that before when you started doing it take you forever, but now you do it in like a 10-minute kind of thing. Maybe it turns out good. And there are other dishes that it's going to take long. That's just because if not, it's not going to taste right. But that's just how it goes. Okay, you've seen those two. So you should be warmed up to do this. Let's see if you can complete this. It has an exponent 2 based on the fundamental theorem of algebra. It tells us whatever the biggest exponent is, that's how many answers you should get. Give me the 2 answers. Because whenever we get the answers, I'm going to put it inside of these little curly braces. Because this is a set. It's like the collection of the things I'm dealing with. So first, do some algebra. And then in about 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you to put some stars and question marks based on how successful you were on solving things. Again, if you have no notes for the whole unit, this is the time you should be writing away and making sure you're setting this aside somewhere where no one's going to do anything to it so you can look at it later. Because these are the type of techniques that you should be showing me to get yourselves caught up tonight, meaning you need to prioritize this class and maybe leave it for the later. Well, I'll get caught up sooner or later. That's not going to be to your benefit. "45 more seconds. And then I should be seeing how well you did. 2 stars. I got both the answers. Star, I think I did some stuff right. Question mark, I got stuck along the way. 2 question marks, I have no clue. And time, so put it in the chat. What did you get? And again, remember, I'm trying to save V right here. You're over there by yourself. What stuff do you have to deal with? Well, there's that guy and then the 2 that are next to it. Obviously, if you're eliminating enemies, you have to eliminate that one. Okay. 125. Can anybody tell me the next step? What is the next step? I'll wait 20 seconds. Which number do I get rid of, the 5 or the 2? I don't see anything in the chat, which I should be seeing stars and question marks. Okay, let's see that. And again, don't, for right now, pause the writing. I'm assuming you're caught up there. Let's say Javier is correct. What would that look like? It would look like this. I would have an okay time with this side. However, this 5, if you try the square root of 5, you're going to get a decimal. That's how I know that that's not the next thing. Okay? We're sort of going to do what some of you do. You guys know that this is, it's probably the most complicated all the classes you have. But for some reason, you got to leave it to the last moment. You shouldn't leave the complicated stuff for the end. Okay? Because it'll backfire on you. However, when you're solving math, you know how there's PEMDAS? When you're solving equations, you're doing that in the backwards order. If no one has ever pointed that out, again, PEMDAS. And again, remember that when you're doing PEMDAS, it's really like this. These are the 4 levels. And usually we start at the top going back down. Well, when you're doing solving equations, you go that way. Notice we saw subtraction, we did addition. Notice it's right there. Notice what's the next level? Multiplication, division, not the exponent, not yet. So as one of you corrected, we do that. 5 quarters is 125, so I know it's this with the square. Caught myself. Now we do the square root, so the next level is exponents. Again, if you write PEMDAS on your paper when doing equations and just go backwards, start at the S, work your way up, you will get to what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? V will equal positive and negative 20, not positive and negative 5. Meaning I put negative 5, positive 5. That's how this thing works. I list out all my answers and just in a list. Okay? This is used a lot in computer science, by the way. Like if you were listing all the different avatars that the characters can, or whatever, you can put, okay, there's girl with red hair, girl with black hair, girl who's blonde, boy with this, boy with that. They'd all be listed in the thing like that. Okay. Now let's go to lesson 2 stuff. Lesson 2 stuff is we can't do the square root stuff because that'd be too simple in life, just for one solution for everything. That's not how it works. We need to be able to factor things. Like what? So we need to factor 15. Let me lower this a little bit. There's a reason why. X squared minus 46x plus 16 equals 0. First thing I should check is to see if any of these numbers have anything in common. What do I mean by that? I mean, can you divide them by the same thing? Well, these two are even, but that one isn't. Because if I could divide by 2 on everything, that'd be nice. Or divide by 3. I can't divide by the same thing. But when I do see 3 things, your mind should go to, he wants me to do this thing. Why? Because it's very efficient. Some of you, I've even sent links to look at things. I even have a video. I need to double check if I uploaded it. I think I uploaded it to 916 Math. It's on your class's playlist. 15 times 16. What is that? Let's check that out. That's 240. That's the answer to this. And notice the numbers are in the same order that we're accustomed to doing this. But I don't know my 240 times tables. Well, I can either go on the calculator or I can Google multiplication thing, equation chart. 20 by 20 might do. I glanced at it and I did notice that I do see the number 240. I'm going to see if I see it in different places. I saw it once. Nope, I just see the 1. I would need a bigger one. I'm going to show you what other thing we can do. We can go to metacalculator.com, metacalculator-.com. I'll put it in the chat for those of you who are following along. Again, I would favorite this site. It has a lot of different options and things we're going to be using, especially second semester. So go to that thing. Let's share my screen. I was about to hang up on you guys. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's see if it lets me share. So you're going over there. You're going to click on Graphing Calculator. Hopefully yours is going faster than mine. I want to go and to share. Where is it at? Online Graphing Calculator. This is not what I want because this is, so Graphing Calculator, just to show you, you would see a blue thing. Mine's already set up from what Math 3 was doing earlier. Give it a little bit to load. It was working earlier. The recording thing makes the Chromebook a little bit slower. It better be recorded too. We click on the blue thing. Whatever number is on the top of the X, in this case it's 240. We're going to do Y equals the number divided by X. Then we're going to look at the table. Similar to the multiplication table, we're going to find the pairs of numbers, which are integers. We'll see why. I don't know why it's not doing it right now. It was doing it 10 minutes ago in Math 3. Let's try it again. It kicked me back to the beginning. One last time. Why is the website glitching? Let me go grab the graphing calculator off my desk to show you. The website is actually working for you. You're going to click the blue. You type Y equals 240 divided. Okay, it started working as I walked over there. You're going, right here in the white part, that's where you're going to type Y. Hopefully it's not resetting itself. Come on. What are you waiting for? I don't know why it's buffering on some. Okay, there was some other tab that's messing it up. Y equals 240 divided by X. You go to the bottom. Well, you could press plot, or you could just click on table. Might as well just click on table. I don't care about what the graph looks like. Yes, that's what I'm supposed to type. Y equals 240 divided by X. We want to create a table of values. What we're looking for are numbers that do not have decimals. There's a whole bunch of them. I want to find some numbers, and I know that the bottom is negative, so the number should be negative. But the numbers, when I add them together, is going to be 46. Okay. Things that you could notice is 3, and 3 times 80 is 240, but that adds up to 83. 5 times 48, that's also 240, but that adds up to 53. I'm getting closer. 6 times 40, 6 plus 40 is 46. I found it. It's down here, 6 and the 40. But I'm going to put some negatives on them. So let's stop sharing. It took forever just to get that. Okay. And notice the result is sort of, for some of you, yes, it makes sense. 6 times 4 is 24. And then you just put the other numbers. Let's get the thing reset. It wasn't the hardest one, but it was one that, okay, 40 times 6. 40 times 6 is 240. I put some negatives. It adds up to this. But I can't jump to the parentheses. Why not? Because there's a 15 right there. Some of you spend lots of time. Maybe you should spend a little bit less time doing that. Plain X box. There's the X. Here's the box. First one says 15x squared. The last one, well, the last one's that, 16. These two are the middle, which used to be 46. We spent all that time dealing with that website. When you're not sharing, it should be a lot smoother. Sometimes it does have some things and just reset the window or whatever. Or these two numbers, negative 40, negative 6. What variable is it? X and X. Okay. I need you to put in the chat 2 stars. I know how to find the edge things. I get how this works. 1 star, I think so. I have troubles with that at times, but sometimes I do get the right answer. Question mark. I need you to remind us how we started off. 2 question marks, no clue on nothing. Where are you at right now with the box? There's lots of methods. This is the one that requires you to remember the least amount of things. So I know where Antonio's at. Where are the rest of you? And 2 of you haven't said anything, at least in the chat format. Again, I want to get through the 4 different lessons today. They're not brand new. They're things you've seen before. At some point you've been in the room. Okay, x squared is x times x. How do I get 15? Well, it can be 1 times 15. I don't think it's that one. Usually it's single digits for the things you have. 3 and 5. You have to think to yourself, where should I put the 3? Where should I put the 5? Anyone have any suggestions? Where should I put the 5? Up here on the top or to the left? And this is why we write in erasable things in math, because if I mess up, and to not make it look messy, I can just erase it. Where does the 5 go? On the top, or does it go to the left? Because it needs to solve the little pattern of the inside boxes or the outside things multiplied. Okay, top, let's check it. If it's up here, it goes with this box down here, meaning 5x times something is negative 40x. What's the something? Is there something? Something times 5x is negative 40x. What's that number that should go down here? If it does exist, then Uriah has probably found the correct spot. Okay, or she has. Something times 5 is negative 40. What's the something? And these are combinations that should be off the top of your head, or you're looking at multiplication chart thing, because that one's on there. Count by 5s till you get 40, it's 8. And then we're going to be careful, it's negative 8, okay? Meaning, so what do I put up here? Something times x is negative 6x. What number goes up here to complete the edges? Something times x is negative 6x. What goes up there? X times something, negative 6x. What is the missing number? And that one should be the quicker thing. This doesn't have an x. That one has a number, but this one doesn't have a number by the x. That one does have a number by the x. What's the number that's by the x? That's the missing thing. It's negative 6. The edges are your parentheses. The things in the parentheses, these are factors. That's the whole point. You have a big old stick. You're going to cut it into at least 2 pieces. Okay, because it's not going to fit in your mouth. You need to be able to chew the thing. You have those. What do we do next? We SOS it. We split. We set it equal to 0, and we solve. We split it. Here, I have cut it into 2 pieces. I've set it equal to 0. I will solve. This one's easier. This one's 8. This one, I will actually show steps. 6. And from the previous one, we saw that having fraction answers is okay. 6 over 5 is fine. There are my 2 answers. This time we won't write it with the little curly things. We could, okay? We don't have to always unless they ask us to put it that way. Okay. Now let's see a different version of factoring. Not all of them have to do the X in the box. There's different techniques for doing things. We do depending, like they're not going to give you, they shouldn't give you the same medicine for everything. There are some medicines that work for lots of things. Okay. 7x squared minus 112. That we saw one that sort of looked like that earlier, right? Technically, we could do this with like square root stuff, but we're gonna sort of avoid that because we know lesson 2 is the factoring section, and I want to see it with whatever technique it is asking for. If you can at least do it in a different way, I'll give you partial credit, I guess. Divide by 7, divide by 7. Since I'm solving, since we also want to solve, that's why I'm doing this thing over there. If it's not solving, if it's just like y equals and saying just factor it, don't do the dividing on that side. Okay, this would be x squared. That one I don't know what it is. I can guess based on the answers that I wrote down. So 112 divided by 7 says it's 16. And this little pattern, whenever I teach factoring, is the one people remember. Again, factoring is usually you get two parentheses. Why? Because there's a 2 right there. How do I deal with it when there's two things and there's a minus in the middle? I would like to try this, right? We have a square root tree. The square root of x squared is x. What's the square root of 16? Because I know one time it's negative, one time it's positive. What number? The square root of 16. Because after I know that, then I'm going to SOS it again. Solve set equal to 0. Split set equal to 0 and solve. What is the square root of 16? And notice on a lot of these problems from the beginning lessons, it should go around the speeds that I'm going. That's around what you should be doing. As it gets later on in the unit, obviously, the problems are longer, then it takes longer to do. And it may be something that you haven't seen for the first time ever. This you've seen, math 1, you should have. Okay, split it. Set it equal to 0. Just to clarify, we can even draw our little wall there. Just say, okay, that's that person's room. Here's mine over here. We do some steps and we get x equals -4. This one over here is +4. There are my two solutions. Just to remind you what that little set notation thing might look like, the set of the solutions a set, just a group of numbers that have they go together because of something. Here it's the group of all the answers to the problem. One more on lesson 2. This is the one that you should know. This should be the 2-star kind of thing. I know what to do on that one. Okay, the other two, maybe you didn't remember. First one, I had to use a calculator, figure out the two numbers and all that. This one is one that, if there's a factoring one you should know, is this one. Okay. You see 3 things. That tells you do that. That's going to help you immediately jump into here. And then you're going to SOS it. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to solve that, and we'll pick up lesson 3. We're making good time. Oh, I skipped one. I just noticed. That's funny. Actually, I skipped lesson 3 on my review. We're going to go lesson 4. I wonder why I did that. Because I was lesson planning late at night. Well, we can reuse the problems. We'll do one from lesson 3. We're going to do it twice. One time a lesson 3 version, one time the lesson 4 version. Okay, so what do we put up here? 21, 10. What are the two numbers that go on the sides? What two numbers multiply to 21 and they add up to 10? Thank you. 3 and 7. So this one's x plus 3. This one's x plus 7. I'm wondering why the board is shaking. I'm assuming Bruna or Dom on the other side, probably writing on the board that's on the other side of the wall. I don't know why the wall is shaking. So we're both doing it at the same time. This is just me. You solve this one, x equals -3, x equals -7 is the opposite. Those are your two answers. Okay, this is the midway point of your review. We've seen lessons 1 and 2. Need you to vote. How comfortable are you on the material from lessons 1 and 2, the stuff you've seen today? 2 stars, I can handle all those after I actually do the work I should have done by now. Okay, 2 stars, 1 star, I can do most of those. There are some things that I know which things are the ones that are going to trip me up. Question mark, there's still something there that's like bugging me, 2 question marks. I don't know how to do any of that. Okay, and depending on what you vote, that also will help you to realize how long will it take you to master these things, to be able to do it to an acceptable 70% level. Okay, if you're at the 2 question mark, it's going to take you the longest. If you're at a question mark, a little bit longer than the 1 star. Those who should breeze through all the mastery tests, none of you voted that way. Okay, that's just what I'm looking at in the chat. You'd be the ones who, it's going to take me 10 minutes per mastery test. The people with the stars going to be like half an hour per mastery test. And maybe there's going to be some resetting, which is fine. Just text me. We're not feel vaguely okay. Have patience with me in the evenings. If you're texting me, just do that. I think it should be okay. So we'll do some lesson 3. Now we get to the part where if you are close to finishing a piece of paper, now's the time to switch to a new one. Okay? Lesson 3, we're only going to do one of them like that. Why? Because it's a very long problem. Okay, so you don't remember what lesson 3 is. This is completing the square thing where I kept on telling you, down here by the second little hole on the paper on the left, write something down, and I drew something down here. It's that thing. Okay, let's see, which one of these would I want to solve in that format? Let's do it this one. I sort of want to avoid the ones that have fractions, so let's go to this one. 58. Okay, we either realize because the instructions say complete the square, or we start factoring and it doesn't work, and then we're like, oh, can I do the quadratic formula? Yeah, you could. And you're going to get some decimals, or you do this thing. Okay, how do we go about this? Again, these 3 don't work for you. Not all 3 players are good enough. But you do know that the first 2 are good. We're going to keep those. Can't get rid of the other guy. Too bad he has a contract. But you put him on the bench. Okay. And we have to figure out what goes there. Again, if you actually do the little picture, see your benefit, and it would cut down on the time here. You don't have to memorize what goes there. To remind you, we have x squared. We have 18 of them. Me and you are sharing $18. We found them on the floor. That's 9 apiece. So let's do like this. Chop it up into 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now that I know around what size it should be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. And I made it too big. And we know all of these are negatives, right? I'm going to put a negative in each thing. Here are my 18 split in half. What's missing down here? Okay, let's draw our lines. And again, yes, it takes a little bit of time. It's semi-therapeutic because you're drawing it. Your mind is thinking, oh, now you stop doing math, maybe. No, we're just doing it a different way. There's pictures, there's symbols, there's numbers and words all mixed together to solve our things. How many little boxes are down here in the red? How many little boxes are in the red? Me doing the tic-tac-toe version of drawing all those boxes made it a little bit quicker than one by one. Remember that the way that you figure it out is how many bars are this way, which is 9. How many go down this way? 9, negative 9 specifically. What's 9 times 9? Because I need to add whatever that number is in the parentheses, and then outside the parentheses, I need to subtract it. What's 9 times 9? 81. Again, most direct way is to, you draw the picture, and then you know what the number is, put plus 81 here, minus 81 there. You could do the usual thing that you saw me do before with exponents divided by 2. That's what we did over here anyway. Okay, this is your new 3, your new starting 3, plus your extra. To remind you, the thing I forgot because it's been a while, I used to do the thing by the second hole. I would tell you, okay, you want to get your new 3 plus your extra. So you want to get 3 of them here plus a number, right? And then you're going to split it up. Okay, not that. I remembered the way I wrote it. Sorry about that. You do want your number. We're going to split this up how? Into 2 pieces. 2 factors plus that number. Those 2 factors are twins, so you put the little 2 there plus the number. That's the next thing we're going to do. How do we do that? Well, Three things. We just did the factoring lesson again. You put 81 up there. You put negative 18 over here. We know the two numbers. How did we get 81? 9 and 9. Specifically, negative 9, negative 9. X minus 9, x minus 9. We should probably figure out how much this is. It's negative. We either put it in the calculator. I already know it's negative. I know I need to subtract 7, that's 323. And you could double check me on that. Okay, I have the twins. What do they look like? They look like x minus 9s. 23 equals 0 equals 0. This equation is like a lesson 1 kind of equation. That's why I do this method. We're going to solve that up on the other board, or you start solving it to get your two answers. It says x minus 9 squared. So I know sooner or later if I see squared in an equation, I better square root it. I have to do, again, PEMDAS, MD, AS, but backwards. You're starting here, you're down here. You need to work your way up. You start with adding or subtracting. Which one? You need to think to yourself, which one's the opposite of minus 23? Oh, I have to add 23. Okay, and then you go, okay, I passed that level, and I need to go to this one. Okay, possibly. But notice, this little group doesn't have anything next to it. So this one is pending if we need it for later. We're gonna skip over that one. We have to go to this one, because that's the next thing that's out here by itself. Here is the square root. Here is the square root. We go x minus 9 equals positive or negative, because you have two answers. That. We're going to now get rid of this guy, because we can go back to this step. If I see subtraction, the only possible thing is addition. Sometimes your answers will look like the following. The number with the plus or minus square root of 23. This looks like something that comes from the quadratic formula. There's a plus or minus in the middle of that. And we can leave it like that. If you notice that your answer is separated, your answer may also look like 9 plus the square root of 23 and 9 minus the square root of 23. They could also ask you to put that in the calculator, and you would get a decimal when you punch it into the calculator, okay? So for this whole process, and to remind you from the top to the bottom, which is over here, which should have taken you front and back of the paper. I got you wrote down stuff spaced out. We started right here, completing the 0, getting your new 3 with the very helpful diagram down here, and ending up over here with the solution. How well are you able to perform this? 2 stars, 1 star, question mark, 2 question marks. Where are you on this thing? And there will probably not be too many of these other than when you're doing the master test for this lesson 3. On the post test, probably not too many. And there's more than one way to do this problem, which is the thing we're going to end with today, which some of you saw yesterday. Where are you on this thing? Okay. I'll have you vote before I give my comments. And my guess, at least for those who are voting, that's around where I think you are. I know that some of you do very well with the diagram. Like, for example, I remember from previous lessons, Antonio on his whiteboard being able to do a little thing down here very quickly. Most of you are okay with this and then factoring it over there, I think, with that big X. I don't think that's the issue. I think maybe just putting everything together, maybe it's the solving thing at the end. Okay. So now let's see what your alternative is, which you'll get most of the credit if on on this type of problem on the post test. If you were to do it in the following manner, and notice I'm just going to erase this. We're going to do the same exact problem. We already know what the answer is, right? It's over there on the other board. We're going to fit it just on this one. Instead of lesson 3.1, it's going to be lesson 4.1. no longer completing the square. At some point, somebody, very clever, figured out a formula called the quadratic formula. Why is it called quadratic? Because of that. To teach you guys some words, not based on the spelling, more on the sounds. A cuadrado, some of you know this already. If I'm drawing this tree, it'd be un árbol cuadrado. Why? Because this shape is cuadrado. Sounds like quad. Quad is a four-wheeled motorcycle. This has four sides. That's where the word quadratic comes from, because we're seeing the squared thing. We're going to use the formula. What does it look like? Whatever variable you need to solve for, it's negative b, the negative boy, couldn't decide if he wanted to go to the radical party. The boy was squared. He lost out on 4 awesome chicks. The party was all over at 2 a.m. Okay. Something else as I was reviewing this that for some of you would be helpful is to remember, I'm pretty sure you're going to remember that A is on the bottom, but remember that the blanks are B, B, A, C. Okay? B, B, A, C. Why is that helpful? Because one way, especially on your Edmentum lessons, that it doesn't do this no longer, that I've noticed on Math 3, they have to use this formula too. It's not like it goes away. When it gives you these blanks, it will help you to remember, okay, what are the blanks for? B, B, A, C. Okay, and on the bottom, it's 2A. So we're going to fill in the values. I'm going to give you about a minute while I erase the other board to fill in the numbers that go there. All the numbers are over here. Remember that this one's a 1. So it'll help her in math. Use the number 1. You're going to use the number negative 18 and 58 and put it into the corresponding blank spots. Using this is equivalent to, some of you maybe employ, one of you I know is, that person told me that at some point they'd be doing some drive-through stuff. They have to use the cash register. There's certain little boxes like, okay, they want the sandwich. What does it have on a click button? For option on, option off, take off this and that. What's the drink? There's a little checklist. This is a little checklist. Okay, what number goes in the first blank? It's a B. What number goes here? Because it also goes there. What is that first? What is the value of B on that quadratic? What is the value of B? And that should be a very quick answer. You're just reading it off from the top. Again, you have 3 numbers up there. The alphabet goes in A, B, C order. The numbers will correspond to that. What is B? I'll wait. I'll write down the next problem while I'm waiting for you guys. What do I want to do? What is the value of B? Again, this should be the only thing you're doing, hopefully. Some things are out of your control. Paying attention to this should be in your control. What is B? That's the same as the value that if we were going to try to factor this would be on the bottom with the big X. Cristal, Edward, Javier, Antonio, Uriah, what is B? Then this is holding you accountable for things. Then you have 3 numbers to guess from. Is it 58? Is it negative 18? Is it 1? I'll wait till I at least get 2 votes. Which one of those numbers is it?
-18.
Mm-hmm. This, and I should have gone and answered quicker than that. Okay. So -18 goes there. There. It's AC. The other two numbers, I haven't used that, and I haven't used that. A is 1. That is your setup to complete the problem, which I'm going to do right up here. I'm going to erase the tree. We're going to put all of these numbers into the calculator. Again, I'm going to go up. Well, negative, negative is positive. 2 times 1 on the bottom is just 2. I want to know what's that number in the square root. Take out whatever calculator thing you're going to use. Let's see, let's use this one. I'm going to do -18. Make sure it's in parentheses, because if not, it's going to give you the wrong thing. You may need to flip the calculator to the side if you're doing it on your phone. -4 like I am. Times 1 times 58. If you were to type in all those things, we get 92. Okay. On this type of problem, I would like to get to a decimal kind of number. We could, oh no, actually I want to reduce, do I want to reduce it? Let's reduce it so it looks like the last one. This on the top is 2 times 46, I think. 2 times 46 over 2, which 46 is 2 times 2 times 23. I'm going to erase the bottom part. If I see a pair of numbers inside of a square root, I take one out. Cancel the other one. 18 plus minus 2 square root of 23 over 2. I can divide everything by 2. 9 plus or minus the square root of 23, which that should look familiar because that used to be on another board. And we have time for one more, so we're going to do it. There's the one more. Again, equals 0. What does the formula look like with the blanks? Negative something, the boy squared. The boy was squared, lost out on 4. Awesome chicks. It was all over at 2 a.m. We're going to plug in things. And again, it should go quickly because in Math 1, this is introduced. If it wasn't for you, you're seeing it now. And this is, I think at least this week, and we did start it last week for showing this. Okay, B goes here and here. The boy shows up twice. Then the girls come into the picture. They happen to be awesome. This one and this one. When did they go home? Or he go home. He lost out on them. 2. -16 plus minus square root. You get the calculator out. Clear it and you go 16 squared minus 4 times 2 times -8, close in parentheses. I get 320 over 4. Let's do this so that we can actually get decimals, okay? Because sometimes you're going to need that, especially if it's like a word problem. One time you would do -16 plus the square root of 320 divided by 4. That's going to give you something. The other time we're going to do -16 minus the square root of 320 divided by 4. Okay, that's what I'm going to be typing into my calculator. Clear it. -16 plus square root of 320 equals, I get 1.88 and so forth. I divide by 4. The top one, x equals 0.47. What if I do subtraction instead? -16 minus square root of 320, close parentheses, -33.88 divided by 4. Down here, I would get x equals negative 8.47. Again, what you need to have done is lessons 1, 2, 3. Again, your list is piling up on you. Minimum is mastery test. To completely be prepared and actually be practicing everything, that's why it's called practice. It's the practice. The 2 components to make sure that you have enough practice on each thing. Again, each assignment should be 30 minutes apiece. At least. For some of you, that takes more. So per lesson, it'd be 1 hour. That's at least 4 hours worth of math right there, at least. That's if you're able to do it on the first try. Make sure to set aside that amount of time, or at least 2 hours. You should be able to handle the mastery test one at a time. Those of you who are present, don't have any excuse for not having any notes. If you have it, written it down. Hopefully when I press stop on this thing, I'll just do it right now so you can know if the recording of the class actually did work or not. Let's try it.